What's up guys, That Really Gross Guy here, and we are back with another video where we are going to talk about one of the Warframes that is in Warframe. And this is part of a series where I'm going through and, like I said, talking about a specific frame and kind of giving you guys my opinions and giving a little description of the Warframe itself and its four abilities. And we're going to be talking about Ember today. Ember is a frame that has a very cult following. A lot of people really love Ember, and I feel like with some of the more recent changes, that has actually fallen off quite a bit because of her recent changes. And we'll talk about those in just a few moments, but Ember, with the name suggests, is a fire-based warframe that does some really cool fire elemental damage to some of the enemies, some status type of fire heat element, which is really fun. But I used to be a very adamant Ember player. I played around with Ember quite a bit when she was in probably her most powerful stage, and she made running, missions much easier, especially if you were just in there for some loot. But Ember, her first ability is basically a fireball that she launches at enemies, and it was never really a power that anyone cared all that much for, and it still isn't all that wonderful. The recent changes to her fireball allowed you to charge it up, and it would do more damage as well as leave behind like a little fiery thing behind, and any enemies that ended up encountering or walking through that leftover fiery bit would receive some damage. But ultimately not the greatest first ability in the game, and most people don't even use it. Her second ability is this really cool wave called Accelerant, where she actually increases the damage output of all fire elementals from her weapons and her abilities. So it's basically just a straight up buff to the fire element, and it also allows other players to include that fire element into their attacks, which can be great depending on what kind of enemies you are facing. So she basically is like a fire elemental buff casting frame. Her third ability is aesthetically looks similar to her second ability. However, it sends out basically a damaging wave of the fire element. And this wave also leaves behind a small circle of fire, basically, and any enemies that pass through that fire area will receive some damage. Also, with her recent changes, you can now fire through that ring of heat damage, and it will actually add some extra heat damage to any bullets that fly through there, which can be nice. It's kind of a buff deal, but a little bit situational. And then lastly is her World on Fire. And her World on Fire used to be like a kill-all ultimate, just run around, fiery explosions taking down enemies left and right. Now, that is still kind of the case. However, it used to be a very easy, ability that you would just turn on, walk around, and enemies would die. And now the way Ember works is the longer you have up World on Fire, at least for the most part, it does cap. It uses up more energy. However, when it does increase in energy expense, it also does increase in damage output. However, you can fairly quickly run out of your energy by keeping this World on Fire running at all times. So it kind of made her ultimate, I don't want to say situational, but kind of limited in terms of when you want to use it, because you're going to run out of energy fairly quickly, and then if you do turn it off, you also are going to have to retoggle it when you want it back on, and then you're going to have to wait for that ability to ramp up to get the maximum damage output. So there are some ways of building her which kind of change some of those things. However, she's a lot more temperamental than she used to be in terms of how you're supposed to build her. There's definitely ways you can build her to maximize her stuff, and for people who really enjoy the new way Ember works at this point, they'll definitely tell you that if you build her incorrectly, then she'll be kind of a headache to play. So very specific builds to get the maximum enjoyment out of her. Unfortunately, this killed some of my love for Ember, and I play her a lot less than I used to. But she still is a fun frame, especially starting out. If you can get your hands on Ember fairly early, she is enjoyable. She can get through quite a bit of content, and then, like I said, if you really know how to build her and you really, maximize your mods and stuff like that, she can definitely be a force to be reckoned with. But if you are a newer player and just kind of wondering if you should bother with Ember, I think she's worth building. I think she's worth playing around with. And then as you get further on to the game, you can decide whether the playstyle is worth investing your time in, or if you maybe want to move over to another frame that you enjoy a little bit more, or can do significant amount of damage without all that investment. So that is Ember. I wish I had more positive things to say about her. Unfortunately, I feel like these recent changes was pretty much a nerf to her. So it is what it is. She is one of the original 7 frames, and while she was very powerful early on, she definitely took a little bit of a hit here recently. But anyways, I'm curious to see what you guys think about Ember. How do you guys specifically build her for that maximum damage output? And is there anything you suggest for newer players trying to maybe pick up Ember and enjoy her? And maybe some of you, anybody else, feel really sad about the old Ember, being gone, and this new Ember with her nerf taking its place. Anyways, that is going to be it for me, guys. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope to see you guys again in the next video. Blah!